This here is more of an in-depth look at my Noctis deck, which is also Kenrith the Returned King. We've got pay a red, all creatures gain trample and have haste till end of turn. Pay 1 and a green, put a +1 counter on target creature. Pay 2 and a white, target player gains 5 life. Pay 3 and a blue, target player draws a card. And pay 4 and a black, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under its owner's control. So we've got quite a few different options on this. People will most likely not let you keep him in there, but you can try, because those options are very nice options. So this deck has a few themes: the +1 counters, the getting that haste, bring cards back from the grave. You're going to have big creatures, expensive creatures that you want to bring back from the grave, and it's got a sub-theme of artifacts in here. So we've got side quest Catch a Fish. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's an artifact or creature card, you may reveal it, put it into your hand. If you put a card into your hand this way, create a food token and transform this enchantment. When you transform it, you have another land. But you could pay 3 and tap it to sacrifice an artifact, put a +1 counter on each creature you control. So there's a +1 counter bit. We've got Blitzball Stadium. When this artifact enters, support X. So +1 counters again. If you pay 3 and tap it, until end of turn, target creature gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card for each kind of counter on it. It can't be blocked this turn. We've got Maester Seymour. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a number of +1 counters equal to Master Seymour's power on another target creature you control. He's also got Monstrosity, 3 and 2 green, Monstrosity X, where X is the number of counters among creatures you control. And he synergizes very well with Genova, Ancient Calamity. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a number of +1 counters equal to Genova's power on up to one other target creature. This creature becomes a mutant in addition to its other types. If you have them both out, you could put +1 counters on each other, so that you could put even more +1 counters on creatures in future turns. Whenever a mutant you control dies during your turn, you draw cards equal to its power. We've got Terra, Herald of Hope. Help bring things out of the grave. At the beginning of combat, mill 2 cards. Terra gains flying till end of turn. When Terra deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2. When you do, return target creature card with power 3 or less from your grave to the battlefield tapped. We've got General Leo. When General Leo enters, return up to 1 target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then put a +1 counter on General Leo for each creature you control. Evil Reawakened. Return target creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield with 2 additional +1 counters on it. Good to bring out expensive creatures, big creatures. Squall Seed Mercenary. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike till end of turn. Whenever a Squall deals combat damage to a player, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your grave to your battlefield. So creatures or permanents. Phoenix Down. Pay 2 and tap it. You could return target creature with mana value 4 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Or you can exile Skeleton, Spirit, or Zombie, but you'll most likely use it to bring something back, and it's an artifact. Golbez, Crystal Collector. Whenever an artifact you control enters, survey one. So that'll allow you to be able to put big creatures into your graveyard. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more artifacts, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And if you control 8 or more artifacts, each opponent loses life equal to that card's power. We've got the adventure part of Ishgard, which is Faith and Grief. Return up to 2 target artifact and or enchantment cards from your graveyard to your hand. Eden, Seat of the Sanctum. It's a little pricey for 5 and tap it to mill 2 cards. But then you may sacrifice a land. If you do, or sacrifice this land. When you do, return another target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. You've got Vanilla. When Vanilla enters, mill 2 cards, then return a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. At the beginning of your first main phase, if you both own and control Vanilla and a creature named Fang, Fearless Lassie, or Icy, you may pay 3 and a black and a green. If you do, exile them and meld them into Ragnarok. And as you can guess, I do have Fang in the deck as well. We've got Elixir. It's an artifact, enters tapped. If you pay 5 and tap it, exile target artifact, or this artifact, sorry. Shuffle all non-land cards from your grave into your library. You gain life equal to the number of cards shuffled into your library this way. It's great if you're running low on your library. And we've got Fang, which cares about whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Also melding with Vanilla and turning into Ragnarok, which will have Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, and Haste. When Ragnarok dies, destroy target permanent and return target non-legendary permanent card from your grave to the battlefield. Some ways to put cards into your grave. We've got Garland, Knight of Cornelia. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, survey 1. So that'll work with a lot of your artifacts. If you pay 3, 2 black, 2 red, you could return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield transformed. If you do, you get Chaos, the Endless. When Chaos dies, put it on the bottom of its owner's library. We're really using it for the survey. Shadow, Mysterious Assassin. Whenever Shadow deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice another non-land permanent. If you do, draw 2 cards, and each opponent loses life equal to the mana value of the sacrificed permanent. Again, putting something big into your graveyard that you could recur back later. We've got Reno and Rude. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile top card of that player's library. Then you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, you may play the exiled card this turn, and mana of any type can be spent to cast it. I just really like the lightning and everything on this card. Partly why this is in the deck. We got the Warring Triad, Flying, Trample, Haste. As long as there are fewer than 8 cards in your graveyard, the Warring Triad isn't a creature. But you could tap it to mill a card. Target player adds 1 mana of any color. Another way to get things into your grave. Here are 2 cards that like things in your grave. Sin. It's got flying. Whenever Sin enters or attacks, exile target permanent card from your graveyard at random, then create a tapped token that's a copy of that card. If the exiled card is a land card, repeat the process. So you're bringing things back as tokens. And we've got Arden, the Usurper. So demons you control have Menace, Lifelink, and Haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, exile up to one target creature card from a graveyard. If you exiled a card this way, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 5/5 black demon. So you could bring back your things that you've been putting into the grave, or you can even delve into somebody else's grave. For some more artifacts and big creatures, we've got the Ancient Adamantoise. Damage isn't removed from this creature during cleanup steps. All damage that would be dealt to you and other permanents you control is dealt to this creature instead. Bit of protection. When this creature dies, exile it and create 10 tapped treasure tokens. So right off the bat, you will have 10 artifacts on the battlefield. And mana. And we got Dragon of Meltgulg, also the Ancient Copper Dragon, or also known as. So whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, roll a d20. You create a number of treasure tokens equal to this result. So again, more. We've got Edgar, King of Figaro. When Edgar enters, draw a card for each artifact you control. And the first time you flip a coin, one or more coins, those coins come up heads, and you win those flips. This guy is really good with the treasure tokens you have and other artifacts. Whenever another creature or artifact you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Judge, Magister, Gabrent. But you can grow real big, real fast, especially with those treasure tokens. Another little sub-theme that fits into the artifacts is vehicles. So we got Balthier and Fran. Vehicles you control get +1/+1 and have Vigilance and Reach. Whenever a vehicle crewed by Balthier and Fran this turn attacks, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, you may pay 1 in a red and a green. If you do, after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. We've also got Sid, the Free Flyer Pilot. Equipment and vehicle spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Also, if you pay 2 and tap him, return target equipment or vehicle card from your graveyard to your hand. That will be vehicles, really, though. We've also got Setzer, a Wandering Gambler. When Setzer enters, create a Blackjack, or the Blackjack, a legendary 3/3 colorless vehicle artifact token with flying and crew 2. Whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, you may flip a coin. Whenever you win a coin flip, create 2 tapped treasure tokens, making more artifacts. We've got SideQuest card collection. This is for the other side of the card. So when this enchantment enters, draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards. At the beginning of your end step, if 8 or more cards are in your graveyard, transform this enchantment, which might happen because you are potentially putting things in your grave to recur them later. And it'll turn into the magicked card. It's a vehicle 4/4 with flying, crew 1. We've got the Prima Vista, another vehicle 5/3. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast it, it becomes an artifact creature till end of turn. We got the Magitech Armor. When this vehicle enters, create a 1/1 colorless hero token. It's mainly for it being a vehicle 4/4. The Regalia. It's got haste. It's a 4/4. When the Regalia attacks, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is a very good way to ramp. Even if you do it once, you're throwing a 4/4 at them, and you're ramping. Lunar Whale. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. That's sweet in itself. It's a 3/5. As long as the Lunar Whale attack this turn, you may play the top card of your library. We've got the Strawl, which is also Smuggler's Copter. It's got flying. Whenever this vehicle attacks or blocks, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So card draw and filling your grave. The Balam Garden Seed Academy. This is in there because it costs less for each town you control to transform it, which there are a lot of towns in this. And you will get Balam Garden Airborne. So when it attacks, you get to draw a card for the cheap cost of crewing it for 1. We've also got the Falcon, Airship Restored. When the Falcon deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is another part of the recursion. If you pay 4 and a black, return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And we've also got the Phantom Train. Why? Because the Phantom Train is awesome. You can't crew it with Bather and Fran, but it's got Trample. It's already a 4/4. When you sacrifice another artifact or creature, put a +1/+1 counter on this vehicle. It becomes a spirit artifact creature in addition to its other types until end of turn. So you can sacrifice any number of things. If you created a whole bunch of treasure and decide to sacrifice that to the train, you can have a really big train trampling ahead at one of your opponents. So something to help out Noctis is Agatha of the Vile Cauldron. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost X less to activate, where X is Agatha of the Vile Cauldron's power. So what's nice is you could put +1 counters on her with Noctis or Kenrith's, 1 in a green, and then immediately it'll become a green. And, well, I think it immediately is a green because her power is 1. But you could pump that up and make all his abilities cost just 1 colored mana. We've also got Go-Go, Master of Mimicry. If you pay XX and then tap him, copy target activated or triggered ability you control X times. So if you don't have that discount, this can help at least copy the ability and for fairly cheap. We've got Commune with Beavers because it's funny, but it's also handy for 1. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact, which there is in here, creatures, which there are in here, and land from among them, and put it into your hand. Put the rest at the bottom of your library. Great way to draw into a random card there. Endwalker, draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of the library in any order. We have Kefka, Court Mage. When he enters or attacks, each player discards a card. Then you draw a card for each card type among cards discarded this way. If you pay 8, each opponent sacrifices a permanent of their choice. Then you can transform Kefka. And each opponent loses life during their turn, and you draw that many cards. Whenever each opponent loses life, you draw that many cards. So this is just a good card draw card, although a bit pricey. We've also got Ash, Princess of Delmasca. Whenever Ash attacks, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest at the bottom of your library in a random order. Just another way to draw into an artifact to bring out. So to help cast spells and whatnot, or to get what you need, we've got a world map. If you pay 1 and you could just leave it out there as an artifact for 1. Or if you pay 1 and tap it, you sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand if you're running behind on land drops. Or pay 3 and tap it to sacrifice this artifact. Search your library for a land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. We got Darkness of Eternity for a quick 3 black mana. We got Crystal of Altar Cave, which is reskin of Chromatic Lantern. Lands you control have add 1 mana of any color. You can tap it for 1 mana of any color. I think it's good in this 5-color deck. Yes, you still have to watch your mana spending, but it still helps out a little bit as long as it stays on the battlefield. Ring of the Lucis. Tap it to add 2. We got the Faisi Paradise. At the beginning of each of your main phases, if you haven't added mana with this ability this turn, you may add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of islands your opponents control. I guess it just all depends on if you're going against merfolk or goblins. Goblins, well, this won't do you much good. Merfolk, it'll do you good. Yuna's Decision. So on the first one, we can sacrifice a creature. If we do, we draw a card. Then we can put a creature card and or a land card from our hand onto the battlefield. So that's a nice cheap way to get something out. Or we can return 1 or 2 target permanent cards from our grave to our hand. Astrago and Realm. If you pay 2 and a red and tap it, target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant sorcery or creature card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. If you cast a creature spell this way, it gains haste, and at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice the creature. It's not cheating your things out, but you're cheating out your opponent's stuff. We got Clive's Hideaway. It's got a Hideaway 4, so when this land enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library, exile 1 face down, put the rest at the bottom in a random order. If you pay 2 and tap it later, you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost if you control 4 or more legendary creatures. And since this is 99% Final Fantasy, there's quite a few legendary creatures in this. And we've got Triple Triad, one of my favorite mini games. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player exiles the top card of their library until end of turn. You may play this card, or the card you own exiled this way, and each other card exiled this way with lesser mana value than it without paying their mana cost. So it's a nice little cheat out things, and it's like a little mini game you get to play while playing Magic. So we've got a little bit of removal here. This isn't really removal, but with Clive, whenever you cast your first spell each turn, choose an opponent at random. It deals damage equal to the spell's mana value to the player or planeswalker that player controls. Just a nice way to do damage. Here we got Shadowbringers, or Dovin's Veto. The spell can't be countered. Counter target non-creature spell. We've got Overkill. Target creature gets -0, -9999 until end of turn. Battle at the Big Bridge, or Fatal Push. You could destroy target creature if it has a mana value 2 or less. You could destroy that creature if it has a mana value 4 or less. Instead, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, just sack a treasure into it. Sephiroth's Intervention. Destroy target creature. You gain 2 life. Lunatic Pandora. It's a nice cheap artifact to bring out for 1. You can also pay 2 to tap it to survey 1, put stuff in your grave if you want. Or you could pay 6 and tap it to sacrifice it and destroy target non-land permanent. So you got options. And search for the Frozen Esper, also known as Nature's Claim. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Its controller gains 4 life. Save it to destroy somebody's Rhystic Study. Ha ha ha. So the last of the miscellaneous cards we have in this deck is Diamond Weapon. Costly, but it costs 1 less to cast for each permanent card in your grave. It prevents all damage that would be dealt to Diamond Weapon. It's an 8/8. It's also an artifact. A Valkyrie aerial unit. Has an affinity for artifacts, so you can make it cheaper. When this creature enters, survey 2. We've got another artifact creature here, Omega, Heartless Evolution. When Omega enters, for each opponent, tap up to 1 target non-land permanent that opponent controls. Put X stun counters on each of those permanents, and you gain X life, where X is the number of non-basic lands you control. Another nice big creature. We've got another artifact here, the Fire Crystal. Red spells you cast cost 1 less, but what you really want is creatures you control have haste. Another little neat trick is paying 4 and 2 red to tap it and create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. We've got Realm Sketching. Create a token that's a copy of target artifact, creature, or land. You could do it to your Adamantoys, Ancient Adamantoys, or your Copper Dragon. Ravilkar. I can't really pronounce that, but it's a fairly good creature, flying, 5/5. When it enters and whenever you cast non-creature spell, target creature gets +1/+0 till end of turn and can't be blocked. Can't be blocked is always nice. For you, not them. Absolute Virtue, another kind of pricey card. It's an 8/8 with flying. Can't be countered. You have protection from each of your opponents. We've got Random Encounter in here because it's one of those cards I think is fun. Easy to whiff on in this deck, but if you get out some of those strong creatures, then it's great. So you mill 4 cards, put each creature card milled this way onto the battlefield. They gain haste. At the beginning of the next end step, return those creatures to their owner's hands. And the very last card is, how can we not have this card in this deck when you have this? So the Jumbo Cactor, a bit pricey for 7. But whenever this creature attacks, it gets +9999/0 until end of turn. So if you do have this in the grave, you could pay 5 to put it out onto the battlefield. And if you pay that red, it gains trample and haste. And you could, as long as nobody destroys it, you can swing it at somebody and totally take them out that turn. So just a silly little fun combo. And that is the Noctis deck. So hope you got some ideas from it and hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.